Here's the last example in 2.1 day 1. We're going to be talking about a different form of a quadratic, and that is standard form. Now, standard form is something that you've probably seen in the past. Maybe it's going to take a little bit to jog your memory. But standard form is what you're used to seeing, where it means that you go highest power down to lowest power. You write them in order. Now, it's not quite as user-friendly when we're trying to graph these things and trying to find out the transformations and the vertex and the axis of symmetry and all of that. So I think it's a good idea to go from standard form to vertex form if we can. So in this process, though, we're going to look at some characteristics of the quadratics. We are going to go from standard form to vertex form by the time we're done with this. Now, if you remember, to find the vertex of an equation in standard form, we have this little formula right here. It's actually part of the quadratic formula. It's just the beginning part of it. But once we find that, that'll give us the x value, and then we're going to plug it back into the function to find the y value. So we'll start that way. We have x equals negative b over 2a. Well, b in this case is negative 7, excuse me. So negative b is going to be negative 7, negative 7 in this case. So oftentimes I'll just put the negative right out in front and we'll do the negative at the end, so that way it's a little less confusing perhaps. So negative 7, and then we'll do over 2 times a. A in this case is negative 2. So we have 3 negatives overall. That means it's going to turn out as negative, and so that's going to be negative 7 over 4. Now it's a little bit nasty working with fractions, but we'll see what we can do. Next up is plug this back into the formula. So f of negative 7/4, we're going to plug that into our standard form, and so we've got negative 2, negative 7/4 squared minus 7 times negative 7/4 minus 4. We're going to simplify this one piece at a time. So just be a little bit careful about how you're working with this. We have to do the square before we multiply by negative 2. So this will end up being negative, negative 98 over 16. And then we have plus, because that's minus and negative, so that's plus. Now it's 49/4, but we want to make it into 16ths. So I'm just going to convert that right away, and it's 196 over 16, because we want to eventually be able to add these together. And then minus the 4, which is the same thing as 64 over 16. Put all that together, and we have 34 over 16, which will reduce down to 17/8. So we've got an x value, we've got a y value, and that means that our vertex right here is what we were looking for. That's kind of the first step in finding vertex form, is getting what is the vertex. Now we'll take a look at the other stuff that we have here. We need to look at the leading coefficient of this standard form, and that leading coefficient is negative 2. The nice thing is that when we put it into vertex form, so vertex form is y equals a x minus h squared plus k. And so what we can do is we can now use this negative 2 as the same a right here. And so what we get then for vertex form is negative 2 and then x plus 7/4, because that's that's the x value, x minus h, and then plus 17/8. And that'll be our vertex form, using the ideas of the different transformations that we had, but then also the vertex that we found here. So hopefully that will allow you to convert from standard to vertex form.